Introduction to Ezekiel. Author Ezekiel. Date written between 593 and 565 BC. Time span about 22 years. Title. This book is named after its author, the prophet Ezekiel. The name Ezekiel means God strengthens. Background. Ezekiel, who grew up in Jerusalem and served as a priest in the temple, is among the second group of captives taken to Babylon, along with King Jehoiachin, Jehoiachin. While in Babylon, Ezekiel becomes a prophet of God. Jeremiah has already prophesied in Jerusalem about 35 years. Daniel, having been exiled to Babylon 9 years earlier, is also a well-established prophet, as shown by being mentioned 3 times in Ezekiel's messages. Both Ezekiel and Daniel are several years younger than the prophet Jeremiah. Were written, Babylon, to whom? Principally to the Babylonian exiles. Content. Ezekiel's ministry begins in Babylon with condemnation and judgment of the nation of Judah. But after the destruction of Jerusalem takes place, Ezekiel's perspective changes. The past is gone, but there is a glimmer of hope shining through for the future. Ezekiel, who wants to help the people learn from their failures, announces impending judgment on the nation that surround Judah and reestablish hope for the restoration of Israel. His vision of the valley of dry bones pictures new life being breathed into the nation. Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel concludes with his return to Jerusalem in a vision to receive details on the new temple, the new Jerusalem, and the new land. Israel and Judah will once again be restored to unity from the ends of the earth as God's glory also returns. Keywords: visions and watchmen. Ezekiel receives a variety of beautiful and unusual visions concerning the immediate and long-term plans of God. These help to establish Ezekiel as God's watchman, to warn and encourage the people. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the words of my mouth and give them warning from me. Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 17, and also see Ezekiel chapter 33 verse 7. Themes. God always has and always will hate sin. The ways of God contrast with the ways of the world. We are each responsible for our own sins. We are together accountable for the sins of our nation. As will any loving father, God will discipline us for our disobedience. God's promises of restoration for his people will undeniably be fulfilled. Outline. Number 1, call and commission of Ezekiel is found in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 1 through Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 27. Number 2, judgment on sinful Judah, Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 1 through Ezekiel chapter 24 verse 27. Number 3, judgment on the Gentiles, Ezekiel chapter 25 verse 1 through Ezekiel chapter 32 verse 32. Number 4, promised restoration of Israel, Ezekiel chapter 33 verse 1 through Ezekiel chapter 39 verse 29. And number 5, the new temple, Ezekiel chapter 40 verse 1 through Ezekiel chapter 48 verse 35. May the Lord add a blessing to the introduction of the book of Ezekiel.